All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. And first, I just want to say welcome to anyone who's joining us today. We're really excited for this virtual dance department student panel. I'm joined today by four really incredible students from Boston Ballet School's Professional Division at Walnut Hill. They're super excited to share their Walnut Hill experiences with you and answer any questions that you might have. Please feel free to write your questions in the Q&A box that's in your Zoom toolbar. We will try to get to as many as we can. If we don't get to your question, we hope to have an admission rep get in touch with you after the conversation, and you can always reach out to us as well. Please know that this is being recorded, so feel free to just sit back and listen to the answers. My name is Maria Freda. I'm an Assistant Director of Admission here at Walnut Hill, and I'll go ahead and let each of our panelists introduce themselves. So we'll start with Sydney.
Hey everybody, my name is Sydney Holmes. I'm a sophomore dance major, and I'm from Martinez, California.
Thank you. Christina?
Hi, I'm Christina. I'm a junior, and I am from Michigan.
Colin, you're next.
Hi, I'm Colin. I'm a junior dance major, and I'm from Portland, Oregon.
Great, thank you. And Madison?
Hi everyone, I'm Madison. I'm a senior dance major, and I am from New Jersey.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for joining us today. I know you have busy schedules, so this means a lot to us. We will go ahead, and I have a couple of questions already lined up that came in through the registration process for this. So the first question can go out to all of you, and you can take turns, is why did you choose Walnut Hill? Sydney, do you want to start? You're the first one on my screen.
Sure. So last year, I believe it was January, Boston Ballet told the students of the pre-professional division that we were merging with Walnut Hill, and it was just really exciting. So being here on campus and being a part of like such a great community, there was no choice to make. It was just meant to happen.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else want to pop in? Go for it, Christina.
So I had also been a part of Boston Ballet before we merged, and when they announced it, I was super excited because I had been doing online school for the past couple of years, and to finally be able to have a structured education again, that was really exciting to me.
Yeah, thank you. Colin, do you want to go?
Yeah, just kind of adding on to what Christina said, I was also part of Boston Ballet School, and doing online school was really the only option at that point. So being able to come here and kind of do both was a big highlight of kind of that meeting and the whole merging for me. So.
Yeah. And Madison, you have been at Walnut Hill, so I'd love to know what made you choose Walnut Hill and like what kept you here. You're right.
So yeah, I've been here all 4 years of my high school career. I've always wanted to dance my whole life, and being able to actually do my art and have an education at the same time was the best of all worlds for me, especially when I had someone who was an alumni here and told me so many great things about being here, and I was like, I definitely want to be here, and it really stuck through, and now I'm living out my life, and I love it here.
Oh, you just give me the chills. That's really wonderful. So I'm going to bounce off of that a little bit because there was a question that came in from the chat, and it was one that also came in through our registration process, is how do you manage your schedule? Like, how do you balance homework and, your time in the studio and your social life at Walnut Hill? Go for it, Madison. You've been here the longest, so if you want to, and then everyone else can chime in also based on the couple of weeks that we've been here on campus.
Yeah, it was hard at first, definitely being a freshman and trying to figure everything out. Once I got the hang of it, I kind of had to structure out the time and kind of make a schedule to get used to everything. It was helpful that we do have academics in the morning, summer in the afternoon now. So it helps with having different times, having breaks in between. You also have the night to do your homework. You have throughout the day to see different majors in your classes over Zoom or in person now. Yeah, definitely fun to see different majors and then also getting to connect with them and then having the time to do your art for the day and like maybe ending your day with that or starting your day with it. And then also in the morning, you get to start your classes, get your work done whenever you have the time, you have the free blocks and all of that. And yeah.
Great. And anyone else want to jump in about what it's been like, even since August when you started with us, with online and now on campus? Christina?
I would say make good habits and be organized as much as you can. I think it's important to be kind to yourself as well with just adjusting. You definitely want to try to get into the mindset of trying to be as proactive, as flexible, but also as organized as you can. And also knowing when enough is enough and knowing when to make time for yourself, which can be difficult. But I think that makes doing schoolwork and doing your art so much easier because you're not burning yourself out, right? You're still making sure that you have time for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Great. Do Colin or Sydney, do you want to add on to that? Yeah, go for it.
I would just say that one thing that I think is really helpful with time management here at Walnut Hill is the balance that they give of structuring academic and arts classes for you, and then the rest of the time they really allow you to be independent with how you want to schedule yourself, which is helpful in the sense that like it is up to you, but then also you have resources. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sydney, do you want to add anything on?
I think they pretty much summed it up. One thing I will say is that because our Gmail for Walnut Hill is a Google account, I found Google Calendar very, very helpful. It just keeps me very organized.
I would agree. Even as an adult, Google Calendar has become my best friend here at Walnut Hill, definitely. So with that, do you feel like you have time to have fun? And what are some of the things that you've enjoyed doing so far now that you've been on campus? Colin, go ahead.
For me, I think, well, first of all, it's still a pandemic going on, so it is pretty limited as far as my experience. But I will say, going along with the time we have for ourselves and the independence with that, if you do finish your homework early or you don't have too much work to do, it's a gorgeous campus, so you can go outside and hang out with friends. I've been doing a lot of that, especially now that I can kind of interact with people after not being able to do as much. And I think like I've also had the opportunity, this is just a little fun thing, but it snowed in Massachusetts a little while ago, and I got to go sledding for the first time in a very long time. So that is one of the fun things I got to do.
That day made me so happy. It was like you instantly became a group of, just goofy kids sledding on the hill. That's awesome. Does anyone else want to add something? Go for it, Sydney.
This campus has no limits to like it's fun. It's fun to be in your room and kind of just look outside because the campus is so pretty. But at the same time, if we are safe and 6 feet apart, it's very, very fun being outside with friends. Sledding was super fun. There are also places that we can congregate safely inside for when it starts to get colder. So that's fun.
That's great. Christina or Madison, do you want to add in at all? Go for it, Madison.
Well, I can say definitely before this pandemic happened, we did have a lot of different things to do. Like we would go to the mall, the Natick Mall, which is massive. And then we would go to like the movie theaters. We would go over day students' houses even just to like have the night out from campus. But even with the pandemic, they always find a way to have it fun. Like we had a drive-in movie. We had Chill on the Hill, which was a Halloween like get together kind of thing. We had s'mores. That was on the day it snowed actually. So we always found a way to have fun and like get together and see new people, even see the people who we were with before. There's always something to do.
Yeah, awesome. Christina, do you want to add anything?
Not really. I think that as someone who likes to write and draw, I do a lot of that too, and I like to do it outside with my friends. So I do a lot of that on my free time. So I'm still sort of engaging in art, which I think is cool. And because we have so many different artists here that aren't just dancers, I think that's sort of a way of connecting with other people too.
Yeah, and I'll bounce off of that because a question that came up was, how do you make friends with people who aren't dancers outside of your major? What opportunities do you have to connect with non-dancers? Go for it, Colin.
So for me, I live in a dorm that is filled with people in all of the art forms, and just simply living with them has been a nice opportunity to get to know people um, other than the dancers I'm in the studio with almost every day of the week. And also, like, all of these extra kind of curricular activities like the movie night and s'mores and all that kind of stuff um, are very welcoming. They all have very welcoming atmospheres, and I would say that, like, if I were to give advice as to making friends outside of your own art form, I would just say don't be afraid, because everybody here is very, very nice and welcoming and open to what you have to say, and they'll listen to you and you get to listen to them. So I have not encountered any issues with getting to know anybody outside of dance.
Anyone else want to add on, or I can move on to the next question because they're starting to really come in. Anyone want to add on? You're good? Okay, great. So we're getting into some more of the nitty-gritty questions about like what it means to be a dancer in Boston Ballet School's professional division at Walnut Hill. So wanting to find out how many dance classes do you take each week, and what are those classes? So if some of you have similar schedules, then we can kind of piggyback off of each other, but it would be great to get into some of those details about the classes. Would someone like to start? Go, Madison. Yeah.
So Sydney, Christina, and I are actually on the same level. We take technique on Mondays and Thursdays in the morning, which is a 2-hour class. And then on Mondays we have character, and Thursdays we have modern. And then Tuesdays and Fridays are very similar. We have conditioning with Miss Lewis, which is just to strengthen our bodies, get into using different muscles than just the muscles we use in dance. And then we also have technique and point included into that as well.
Great. And Colin, do you want to talk a little bit about what it means to be in the men's division?
Yeah, so the men's program is similar in scheduling to all of the girls' classes. But the main difference there comes from where they have point and more technique geared towards women in dance. We have kind of more strengthening stuff, and we have men's work. So far, we haven't been able to do a ton of big men's work just because we're coming back from dancing in small boxes, basically. But as the year goes on, we will be doing more of that. And then we have, in place of point for the girls, we have kind of workouts that are given by Peter Stark, the head of the men's program. So yeah.
Great. And Sydney or Christina, do you want to share from the schedule that Madison told us about? Is there a class that is your favorite?
I really like all of my teachers because they all bring something different to the table with each class. So there's always something that you're getting from each teacher, and it's not all the same. And I think both stylistically and just with corrections, that's really what's unique, I think, that I found with Boston. But I think I really enjoy morning class. Especially on Saturdays, because it's really refreshing to me. I mean, it's still early, but I really like having that way of waking up and getting my body moving.
Yeah. Sydney, what about you?
I think my favorite class right now would have to be the optional one. I don't say that because I love the teacher any more than I love the others, because they're all truly so amazing, and I hope that you all get to meet them. But it's a class that I feel like I can just let go, and it's something where I can use all of the technique that I've spent building in these like core fundamental classes with a teacher and just kind of go crazy, and it's super fun.
That does sound fun. And Madison or Colin, do you want to talk about a favorite class that you've had so far?
I can go. We actually, on Saturdays, we have performance workshop, which is really fun to work on a piece that we never got to learn before or seen in a ballet, and then getting to work on it as if we were in the corps or part of a ballet, which is really interesting to see.
Colin, what about you?
I was going to say the performance workshop on Saturday too. It's just, and we had this previously in the Boston Ballet School curriculum, but it's geared towards learning how to dance in a corps de ballet. So not necessarily being like a soloist or like a featured performer, but learning to dance with other people to create an art piece.
Mm-hmm. That sounds wonderful. So I'm going to just glance over at the Q&A because quite a few questions came in, and I want to make sure we get to some of those. So let's see, we have someone here who would like to know more about the academic structure and the classes that you take during school time. So any of you can speak about that. And also we can reach out to families if it doesn't get answered, fully. We can always reach out to you later to tell you exactly how the schedule works and how many hours of each both academic and dance that they would get. So anyone who wants to talk about the academic structure of your classes. Christina?
Yeah, so it's interesting because we alternate when we have academics in the morning and academics in the afternoon. So then, obviously your art block will either be in the morning or afternoon, depending on when your academics are during the day. And I think that's kind of cool because then you're not getting up to do school every single morning, every day. And I think that's kind of neat. And there's 3 blocks. So there's like A block, B block, C block, and also a possible math block as well, depending on the day. And it's really good because usually you don't have all your blocks. If you're taking like 3 classes, and you'll have A block or C block or A block and B block, and then your math block. So and they're all an hour. So it doesn't feel like you're going from class to class to class.
Mm-hmm. Madison, do you want to add on to that?
I can say definitely beforehand, before this whole pandemic, we had a totally different schedule where we had classes in the morning every day. And then after classes, you would go into an assembly, you would go into community time, which was for like organizations or clubs and stuff like that. Wednesday, we had advisors where you can meet with your advisory. You have a group of advisors. And then Thursdays was also assemblies, and Fridays we did Art 360, which is where you can actually do different arts other than your own. So you can take a photography class with Mr. Viva, who is our head of school. You could do a hip hop class, you could do a jazz class, you could do an art class, a drawing class, filming, whatever you really wanted to do, which was nice to have. And Wednesdays now are days where we kind of have to relax. We have assembly, we get the day to, you might have a math class, but this is the day where we get to relax, get our work done, catch up on things, see people, like we kind of have free time more.
Yeah, and to note that basically we were talking about those 3 blocks. So Walnut Hill operates a little bit more like a college in the sense that you're not taking all your academics at the same time. And Christina was talking about that too. You're not going from class to class to class to class. And so I want to just answer here. It was someone's asking about how many hours of dance do you get each day? And I know that it does work out to around 20 or 25 hours a week. Would you say that that's accurate? Yeah. Okay, great. And then a question came up here about how many ballet levels are there in the program? Does someone want to answer that for us? Sydney?
So right now, first at the beginning of the year, there was a survey that was sent out of how we wanted to name our levels. And because Avatar had just come out on Netflix, the student body kind of decided that we wanted to be the elements. So there's fire, water, air, and then earth for the men. So those are the levels this year.
That's cool. I was wondering how they got named those. Thanks for sharing that. That's great. So a lot of us got to watch the collaborative choreography showcase that was really wonderful. I watched it on YouTube, and we shared the link with a lot of the families who are actually on today. Many of them did get a chance to watch it. And one of the questions came up about you know, this was all done remotely. So can you each share about a challenge and a surprise that came out of the project? Would someone like to start? Go for it, Madison.
So it's definitely fun to see like how different people danced and like how they connected to the music and stuff like that. I probably one challenging part was doing it on Zoom and trying to schedule out times where everyone could meet for like a rehearsal or go over it and stuff like that. But we all figured it out, and it actually turned out perfectly, and it came out amazing.
Yeah. Sydney?
I think it was great to see like my classmates take on the choreographer role, because I chose not to choreograph this, or I'll just stop myself. But one challenge was picking up on the nuances. Like when you're in class, you can see like maybe the way they move their hand, or maybe the way they present their foot, but over Zoom, it could be laggy. But like Madison said, it turned out beautifully, and I'm very, very proud of all of their hard work.
Yeah. Christina or Colin?
I can speak. I think I'll just state the obvious. It was very challenging to try to dance a big piece in a small space. But I was, on the contrary, surprised by how well the whole project came together, and seeing everybody just make it work and make it work beautifully was really nice.
Yeah. Christina?
I think it's interesting because now we see a lot of ballet companies doing ballet on film. And for us, that's sort of our little introduction into it in a way, because we have to set up our camera, we have to find the right angle, we gotta, we have to be in control of how we're being viewed as well, because it's not live. And I think that's really cool because we're sort of, in a way, evolving how we present ballet and how we present dance, period.
Mm-hmm. Very nicely put, definitely. I know from speaking to the other majors, they also have been talking about suddenly they're learning how to, be videographers and sound engineers. So you've been adaptive, which is really cool. All right. I'm going to go ahead and bounce over to the chat because I'm seeing a lot of questions coming in. All right, this is going back to kind of living on campus. So right now it's a little different. Right now everyone does have single rooms. So someone's asking about, are you always paired with a dancer? So Madison, do you want to answer that about roommates? Right now we don't have to go into how everyone has singles. If you want to talk about how we generally would do room selection.
Yeah, so my first year being here, I was in a triple, so I had a visual artist as a roommate and also a music major as a roommate. It's actually cool because that's one way you actually get to meet other majors as your roommate. You always start with a different roommate no matter what. Mm-hmm. It's always your first year here, you're always gonna have a different major as your roommate. Most likely, if you first come, you won't be put with the same major. They try to, so that you can get around to meeting new people and different majors. Same for my sophomore year. I actually decided to room with one of my close friends who's a theater major, which was really cool to see like how she does things. Like she would be singing around in my room or stuff like that. But after your first year, here you can ask to room with a certain person. If you do want to room with a dance major, you can. or you can room with one of your close friends. It's up to you, really. Your first year, though, you're always going to be paired with a different major.
And Madison, I'm going to ask you a question because, again, right now things are a little bit different. We have someone asking, how often can your parents visit you?
So your parents can really visit you whenever you want. It's kind of up to you. I know my parents, we used to do family weekend where it was kind of alumni weekend, and all the alums would come, the parents would come, and your parents could like stay for a few days. They would come to brunch with you. They would go to dinner with you. You can go out with them, spend the night with them, and stuff like that. I know for breaks, I would sometimes have my parents drive up and get me because I didn't want to fly or take a train. So that's when they would also come and see me. But if they're ever in town or anything, or they just want to come up and see you, definitely do it, because it really, you will enjoy seeing someone that you haven't seen in so long.
Great answer. So let's see. We have a question here. I love this question. It's for each of you. This person wants to know what your background was before coming to Walnut Hill. What was your dance background before coming to Walnut Hill? How did you get started and all of that? We can go in any order, whoever feels ready to answer. Go for it, Christina.
Well, I think I mentioned this briefly, but I had been with Boston previously before we merged. I've been there for 2 years. And before that, I went to a little studio in Michigan, and my teacher had actually retired months before I had started at Boston. So, I sort of saw the end of an era, and I think that was really unique. But I lived in Boston. Last year, I lived in an apartment with a roommate. And so I had very classical training before Boston. And I think Boston has really broadened how I approach different styles of ballet, and how I approach ballet in general. So I think that was really eye-opening for me.
Who's gonna go next?
So for me, I was, up until this past year, I had been dancing at a kind of smaller studio, and I did see this come up in the Q&A. I was one of the only boys there, and then coming to Boston this past year was very different because I was in a class with only boys instead of being in a class with almost only girls. And it's the same this year. There's a class of only boys, and it's about 13 boys, I believe, this year. But to have that shift really set me on track to better training as a male dancer. But yes, started small, and then this past year went to Boston.
Who's next? Sydney?
I'm gonna echo what they said. I came from a very small studio in California, and then I came to Boston Ballet's summer intensive, auditioned, and was lucky enough to get the phone call that they wanted me to stay, and I've been here ever since.
Madison.
So before coming here, I danced at the School of American Ballet in New York City for 2 years. Before that, I danced in a very small studio as well. I got accepted to that school from their summer intensive, and from there, now I'm here. Yeah.
Great. Cool. Thank you so much. We have a little bit more time, so I'm going to try to get to these questions here. So Colin, actually anyone can answer this, but this is coming from someone who wants to know about if the men are doing partnering right now.
Yes, so unfortunately, not in the foreseeable future. Because of the circumstances, we're not really able to do very much contact. But when we do get to do partnering again, we have, for the men, my experience last year, I don't know how much this has changed since the partnership, but we would have 2 partnering classes a week with 2 different levels of girls. And hopefully that time will come soon. But, and probably by next year, I'm hoping, Yes, but not for the time being.
Okay, and so on that, someone's asking about, are you back in the studio? Are you still on Zoom? And so quickly, just for this, someone in the audience, we are on campus. We did start, the first quarter was on Zoom, and now everyone's in the studio with some adjustments. Do any of you want to talk about what your experience has been like being back in the studio after being online for so long? Madison?
I can go off that. So at first it was definitely weird dancing on Zoom and trying to get a correction from a teacher on Zoom, not being able to do like contact with you, which we still can't do now. We can't do contact, but it's definitely better because now they can more show you and they can see you better than just seeing you from your side profile at all times. Dancing in the studio is definitely a little hard to come back to from dancing in such a small space. You have to like regain your center and all of that, but it's a lot better.
I was muted. Anyone else want to join in, or we'll move on to another question? All right, I'll move on to another question. So let's see. Oh, how would you describe what the environment of the dance department is? Sydney?
Every time like I walk into the building and I see all these people in buns, like it's just very comforting to know that there are so many like-minded, driven people here. So I would say that the environment is supportive and it fosters your growth both as an artist and a person.
Mm-hmm. Anyone want Colin?
I completely agree with what Sydney said. There is just something about the atmosphere of being people where you know they are just as committed as you are to this art form is comforting, as Sydney said, and to a certain extent, for like auditions and those kinds of things, I mean, that's where it gets competitive. But being in the studio in the school, just training in the year, I don't feel like there's any kind of like ill intent or anything from anybody. So it's very nice.
Wonderful. Yeah. Christina or Madison? Christina?
Yeah, I think Colin briefly mentioned competition, and I like to speak on that for a minute. I think in terms of competitiveness for us, I think we bring each other up. It's not about bringing each other down, and we're constantly trying to get the most out of each other in such a positive, like fun way. And that's something about our environment, because I know it can be so challenging, and the art form is just so competitive and challenging, period. So I think for us to have such a positive mindset and feel that way about each other, like we can boost each other, I think that's really special and very important.
Mm-hmm. Madison?
I would have to agree with every single thing they said.
Mm-hmm.
Spot on.
I love that. Okay, well, I'm pretty impressed. If there are any other questions as we wrap up, please send them in now. It looks like we got to most of them, if not all of them. So before we sign off, I have a question that I want to ask you, which is, could you fill in the blank for me? This might help the audience figure out if this is the place for them. So you might be a walnut if you want to fill in that blank. Who wants to start? You might be a walnut if, Sydney.
You might be a walnut if you are passionate about what you love.
Mm-hmm.
I would say you might be a walnut if you are looking to take the next step in your path to becoming a dancer and having the experience of being a little bit on your own, but continuing to have support all around you.
Go ahead, Madison.
To have fun and meet new people that are just like you.
Christina?
I would say you're Walnut if you are an artist, because I think it's not just about dance, it's about the expression, and it's about the beauty of it, and it's about the art. And that's what Walnut Hill is. It's an art school, and I think that it really encompasses what everyone here is.
Oh, well, thank you all so much. You were so wonderful. Thank you for your time. I know you're busy. And for anyone in our audience, if after hearing this information, you are ready to be a Walnut, I would encourage you to submit your pre-audition video. If you have questions about that, please reach out to your admission representative. You may have heard from them already. If not, you can go to walnuthillarts.org and you will find who your admission rep is on the admissions page. You will also find on walnuthillarts.org tips and tricks video that is filmed by the director of dance, Margaret Tracy, who helps you prepare for your pre-audition video. And any other questions, we are always happy to help you. So just a virtual round of applause for our panelists. You were excellent. Thank you everyone for joining us today. All the best. Bye.